Welcome back. It's season 2 of the ESG Is Me podcast. This is the podcast where each week we dive into environmental, social and governance topics, showing how H&MV Engineering and our wider community are tackling sustainability and ESG.
This season we're switching it up and we'll have external guests and our colleagues joining us to give an outside perspective on environmental, social and governance. My name is Sinead.
My name's Kate. Here we go.
Welcome to our ESG Is Me session. We're here with our bonus session with Brent Pope.
Bonus edition.
Over to you, Brent. You can introduce yourself if you like.
Hi, I'm Brent Pope. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks
Great to have you.
very much for the support in the elephant. We'll get talking about that in a minute. But so delighted to be in Limerick, in Munster country. And in fact, I would have, looking back on my rugby career, I would have loved to have come to Munster first to play rugby because it was very similar to where I come from in New Zealand. Same sort of ethos, you know. And so that was the early days. So.
Great. Well, great to have you. My name's Joe Quinn. I'm the Chief People Officer. I'm about 3 months in, so in the company, and everyone in the company knows John very well. So, but look, we'll open up today, Brent. Maybe get you to talk a bit about Elephant in the Room.
Do we have to subtitles for accents, do we?
Well, yeah, that could be for all three of us. I was going to say, make a good joke. There was an Irishman, an Australian, and a Kiwi. You know.
Yeah, when did you that?
Yeah. We'll get to that later. But so maybe you give us a bit of background on the charity, what inspired you to start it, and also talk to us a little bit about perhaps the purpose piece of it for you.
Yeah, well, it goes back. It's common knowledge in Ireland. I've been over here. I arrived over 1990, only expecting to be here for a couple of months to play rugby, and I'm still here. So about 20 years ago, I suppose we call it the word come out or not, but I started to share as I saw it, my life's dirty little secrets, and it was around mental health. And from then on, I got kind of tired of going out and talking all the time and nobody doing anything about it. It was a lot of tick box exercise. You know, you'd have companies say to you, look, will you come and talk about mental health, Brent, and talk about your journey, which I wanted to do, even though it was hard, and it still remains hard talking about parts of your life that you want to forget. But for the benefit of others, I said, okay, I have a media platform. People know me from the television now, and I said the time is now to do it. But I got a bit tired of not really being able to crack through, if the word to especially in male-dominated areas like construction, prison offices, and that, where they were still stuck in that kind of, it's weak to speak. And that's the background I come from, coming from a macho, small town, working class background, working class kid. And I always felt that it was weak to speak, especially moving through the gears of kind of playing rugby and everything like that. So I was doing another mental health talk in Kilkenny about, I think during COVID, or just, the latter part of COVID, and I was in Kilkenny, and I came out of the hotel when I was talking. Right in front of me was this wonderful coloured cat up there, and I loved art as well. I had a gallery for a couple of years. I'm a kind of Renaissance man in some ways.
I said that before the podcast, that Brent's a bit of a Renaissance man.
I've
Fashion label,
books,
art, writer, rugby player.
Yeah, it's all about
impressive.
Stepping out of your comfort zone in life. But I always had something to do. My nickname at school was always Project Pope. I always had something on the go, whether it was a book or something, writing a book or making a movie, doing something like that. But so I was faced with this wonderful, decorated, colourful cat. And because I come from a sort of an arty background in a sense, I thought, oh God, I love that. And I loved that. And I couldn't find out any more about it. So I rang the manager of the hotel back about a month later. I said, that cats you have in your foyer? I said, I love that. And I said, where did you get them from? And he said, there's a organisation that Art of Fundraising that does it, and they bring these different animals in and decorate them, normally for a short charity run or something, like if you're introducing something at the zoo or something, or you might come up with an animal. So then it got me thinking, what could I do around mental health that involved a sculpture because a lot of mental health is taking stuff out of your head and making it visual. We all know that. Writing stuff down, seeing things is more visual than just talking about it. So I went back and forth with ideas myself, and I just think, half brain, half skull, and I thought, oh, we've seen that before in every doctor's, thing with the old sort of head psychological sculpture that we've seen, all the... So I couldn't get there, and I was thinking, animals, it doesn't work if it's a wolf or a cat or a dog, it doesn't work. And then I was out one stage, and I was talking to a Eastern European man who was working in the construction industry, and he just said he couldn't tell people on site that he worked with that he didn't like drink. And I said, so you're telling me every night you're more or less asked to go down to the pub when you're working away from home? He said, yeah, but, and he said, I'm encouraged to drink, but he said, I'm too scared to tell them.
Yeah, wow.
I don't drink. That's my elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And suddenly I went back to Owen and Dave, and I said, how does this sound? And between us all, we come up with the kind of elephant in the room, because I think the elephant in the room to me was often said to me, especially for men, about don't go there.
Yeah.
We all have elephants, the way I see it. We all have a place, especially as men. I'm not doing this to men, but let's face it, men are the ones that have the problem areas of taking their own lives. 80% of them, and the people who take their own lives in Ireland next year will be men. So we're not doing something right. And what we're not doing right is talking about it. Because for many men, they're emotional. What's going on in here is their elephant in the room. Yourself, talking to, especially an Australian or a New Zealander or an Irishman about the breakup of a relationship or losing a job or something, they'll just tell you, I don't want to go there. I'm not ready to go there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. So
Absolutely.
that's when the idea was born. Dave and Owen had the mechanics of how, I wouldn't have known where to start. Where do I get these elephants? We've had so many boat builders and people coming back to us and saying, oh, we can do it. And then they can't do it.
Yeah.
So Dave and Owen had already that side of it set up, so that the mix was perfect. So then we just come up with the idea that let's try to get the word out there, and let's try to get into businesses, and let's try to get into schools and hospitals and anywhere where they see an elephant. And from my background, seeing an elephant gives somebody hope and permission. Hope in the sense that no matter where you are in your life or what place you are, and if you're in a dark place, there is hope of recovery. And also permission that it's not weak to speak after all, that it's okay to turn around to somebody at work and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or turn around to somebody in your own, home life and just say, I'm struggling with this. And for that person to say, I'm here for you, I support you, I care about you, let's go hand in hand to get the help that you need. How can I help? So that was why it was set up.
Yeah. But
but
quite
I
amazing.
couldn't have-
It's grown strength from strength now.
It's gone, you used that word before, gangbusters.
Gangbusters.
I never thought, even talking to Dave, who's my right-hand man, we're up and down the country, we never thought it would grow like this, because everybody gets it. From young children at kind of primary school level, got some into schools, they're all coming back to us. Every day I get an email saying what the elephant means to people. Whether it's somebody coming into work on the first day, seeing an elephant there, knowing they're in a culture of care, whether it's somebody coming into your own environment here and just saying, okay, they got an elephant. Somebody thinks about my mental health. Because like you growing up, I'm sure like yourself, it was all, for men especially, it was all about the physical.
Yeah.
If you could push through, man up, harden up, toughen up, real men don't cry. We were told all these things. Well, in fact, real men do cry. Real men are vulnerable. So that's why it's created. So, it's about spreading the word. It's gone global now. We've got ambassadors from Adam Clayton from U2, Caelan Doris, the Irish rugby team, Marion Keys. So we're just going to continue to grow it as best we can to get the message out there. There's not weak to speak.
Yeah, how it would have caught my attention was, suppose, it's a visual statement as well. I mean, all companies have nice policies and lots of stuff that they have. But if you're someone that's walking in the foyer of our reception here, and you're having one of them days, you know that it's accepted here that we have that bad day and the day to talk, because it's really out there front and centre, and not just a flowery expression on a wall. I mean, it's something
people
tangible,
get that.
something visual.
No, thanks for that, because that's the very reason that I started. That's the very reason I created. I got a wonderful email the other day and I asked her whether I could use it from a young Indian woman that had just come over, and it was her first day in her job there a couple of weeks ago, and she said as soon as I saw an elephant in the workplace and I read the little, she said, I just felt so much more comfortable that I was entering a culture of care. And I thought, in that one email, that's all we're trying to do. I'm not saying we're not bothered, but we're not encroaching on anybody's strategies or policies. You're right, we're not going into companies like yours or Google or Aldi or wherever dealing. We're not going in saying you should be doing this, should be doing this, should be doing that. No, we're just saying let something be the start of it. What's the grassroots? And the grassroots is encouraging people to talk about it. It's no good talking about, using the services and all these things if we don't lead people to that, if we don't give them the confidence to be able to go online and say, hey, okay, I need to talk to someone. I'm just stopping people getting stuck in a moment of time because the alternative doesn't warrant talking about. And the alternative for a lot of people out there is getting into a dark place where they see there's no help, there's no hope. And then they think about doing the unthinkable.
There's a listening piece to it, isn't there? We've been talking a lot about this in the different offices around the company, because we did a new piece on our values, but a big part of one of the values was the listening. And I think you were alluding to it earlier, John, like people will tell you something, but there's usually a subtlety to the messaging where you've kind of really got to pick up on what they're really saying, because it mightn't be straight out with,
No,
I'm having this issue. It's just it
Go
might be a
around.
subtle comment or go around it and talk around it a bit. And I think that's big in Irish culture too, just talking around things. I think Aussies and Kiwis were probably a little bit more upfront with stuff, but culturally seems to be a little bit more astute in what you're hearing.
To pick up on those nuances,
Small
I suppose.
things.
I done that first aid, or mental health first aid course there during the year as well as part of the first aid committee here in H&V. But there was definitely nuggets of bits in that maybe you do. And how you pick up on them things that I would have learned a little bit in that. I mean, it was interesting because I would think I'd be a good listener, but we're not always good listeners.
No, actually, I went back and trained as a psychotherapist. I'm a qualified psychotherapist, and that was the greatest skill that I got out of the 4 years traineeship. The greatest skill was, I always knew I was empathetic because I'd always be empathetic. That's not an ego thing. I just said, my father was a very kind man. My brother's a kind person. I'd like to think I lived my life in that kind of Christian way that I'm kind to people. But what I needed to learn the skills of really listening. And sometimes your greatest skill as a counsellor is saying nothing, actually. Sometimes if you give people the space in silence, and you look at them the right way or something, you can just about, I'm not saying you can just about get into anybody's soul if you give them that space. You don't have to rush it. People shouldn't be told, oh, you've got to tell me all this in one lot. But you can certainly go some of the way and say, hey, what's really going on, John? Or what's really going on? Talk to me about it. And they might, for the first time, they might say, I don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. Just say, look, I'm here for you if you do. That's all you have to do. That's the greatest skill, is being a good listener.
And it was interesting your link on the artistic piece, obviously around the elephants, but also you've a link with art and writing. Do you find the creative piece puts you in a flow, that puts you in a general positive mood as well?
Well, it ties in. You can't use the word passion around mental health, but more purpose. It was a good word, because everybody should try to find their purpose. And I say the purpose is in giving back. But I always supported art uncooked by culture. And where did the art come from? To me, the art that meant the most was that people that had to do art every day because it made them feel better. In any way. It wasn't about the commercial side of art. When I had my gallery in Dublin, it was called The Outside In. Actually, if anybody wants to not pull a moss on myself here, but I made a documentary where I took 4 artists who had, I think one was schizophrenic, I think somebody else was a homeless guy, depression, and I did a documentary called, I think, Brent Pope Outside, and it's still on YouTube. But where I really got to know these people and what they felt about the creative piece, because it is very important for mental health to look after yourself creatively too.
Probably I've won for you a little bit. Talk a little bit about resilience maybe, and building a little bit of resilience. It was interesting there you touched on, because a lot of people talk about mental health and mental illness, link it to your physical.
Yeah.
You mentioned there that you were in good shape. You were
Yeah.
a professional athlete at the time.
Yeah.
You were horsing weights, the whole lot, doing really good. But it wasn't like, and lots of people when they're in those dark places, one of the things we say is kind of work on your physical. I suppose there is. I would believe there's a strong relationship in there. I know when I would have went through stuff, I found that maybe when I did get up and get more
Yeah.
physically fit, it definitely
That's the
brings you
resilient
on.
piece, you see.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I don't use the word resilience much, and you make a good point. I should, because I've been through some pretty shitty times in my life, but I've come through it. And you know, I know some of you are not music fans, but and certainly some of you are not music fans of Barry Manilow. But I always use that song, "I Made It Through the Rain."
Yeah.
You know, it's an old soppy song, I know, but I always use that line, "I made it through the rain," and I got to meet other people that have made it through too. And it just allows me to look back at my life and say, yeah, Brent, you made it through. I might not have been here now. I might not have been talking to you, and I made it through. And that builds up resilience, because I know now that anything that comes at me, I can deal with. I mean, what I'm saying to other people is, do you know that yet? You know, what comes back to me of the modern generation is actually younger people are finding it harder to be more resilient because they've lived this TikTok life of expectation, and they, you know, I get a lot of CEOs saying, look, we can't say anything to anybody about not meeting deadlines or that they haven't done the perfect job, because they haven't built up that resilience. So my life has been very much about resilience. I just don't use it about myself, and maybe I should.
Yeah, I ask a little bit because I have young kids and stuff, and I was at an under 12s match lately, and there was a team. There was a little bit of these tournament where there was maybe 6 teams, and it was a soccer game. This one team were beating everyone by 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, but they got to the final, and the goalie, he had let in no goal. Next thing, 2 goals went in, and he was in bits. And like I was with one of the parents, and our team had been beaten, and we just joked, said, well, if he was playing with Palace Green, who was my club, if he was playing with Palace Green, he'd have a lot of resilience, because they're getting beat 6-0.
Come on.
He just couldn't handle it. Right? So that level of resilience, I suppose, varies with people. And it's like it's probably like building muscle in a way, that you build up a level of resilience.
Some people are naturally more resilient than others, but you can always be learned that resilience comes from struggling and getting through it. You know, you can't build resilience from a perfect platform, in a sense that somebody can't come to you and say, I'm very resilient. What you've got to find when they use that word, you've got to say, okay, what did you go through? And quite often people say, look, I went through a cancer battle, I went through something like that, I'm strong. You know, that's the word. Too often we use the word of resilience in a sense on a sporting occasion, you know, overcoming a couple of losses. To me, that's just part of life. Resilience is about is taking the hits. And coming back better. You know, not prepared to take the same hits again. That's why that guy was upset, because you know, it could have been a clean sheet. And suddenly, while other people could have seen it as success, because said, oh, you only let in 2 goals this time rather than 4 last week. For him, that wasn't a resilient piece. The resilience piece,
expectation as well.
Expectation.
Cool.
All right. Well,
here's
we
the
have
dreaded questions.
Okay.
I'm allowed to pass, aren't I?
You're allowed to pass. Okay, let's have some easy ones. So really quick answers, just whatever comes to mind. First, crisps, potatoes or kings?
Potatoes.
Cats or dogs?
Oh, definitely dogs.
Berries or lions?
Well, I'm not a tea drinker or a coffee drinker. I've only had 1 cup of coffee in my life, but if I was at a push, berries. I know that's a quote. Yeah, no, berries.
Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Okay. What's your favourite colour? Is it black or green?
Green.
Good. Leinster or Munster?
Pass.
Guinness or Murphy's?
Guinness.
Hurling or football?
Oh. Hurling.
If you were picking a World 15, would you pick Carter or Sexton?
Carter.
U2 or the Cranberries?
U2.
You have to pick them now because they're sponsoring you. Monet or Gaudi?
Gaudi.
What's your last Halloween costume? Actually, don't answer that, Brent. It's a family show.
Dressed up as Johnny Logan,
Okay, if the All Blacks had to lose a game, would you rather they lost to England or Australia?
Australia.
Right answer.
That's a hard question. Australia.
Is Pavlova from Australia or New Zealand?
New Zealand.
Wrong.
I know, you're going to get that argument. That's an ongoing argument for the last couple of centuries.
Would you, the kind of person that would ask permission or beg forgiveness?
Beg forgiveness.
And your favourite place to visit in Ireland, like to go to in Ireland?
Well, that's a good one. I've been lucky enough to go to most places. Probably Kerry.
Kerry? Okay, we've got 2 questions left. Craziest thing about living in Ireland, is it trying to figure out how to use an immersion or being able to park your car on a footpath?
I tell you, one answer. Using the bloody immersion. I'm still having problems with it now, just as we speak.
Yeah.
It's getting a plumber.
I was having this argument before this, explaining about immersion. And,
people aren't
the
used
Irish
to that.
folk
You've got to switch the immersion on before you have a shower. I'm telling you, I've had tenants for years. Now you've got to put the immersion on half an hour before.
I was explaining that most of the rest of the Western world, you just turn a tap and you get streams of boiling hot water, but there's an extra step here. So,
well, you can now get the little things that go under, But the other thing was put your food in the press. The press to me was a wool press.
Yeah.
And why would anybody putting their food in a wool press? I know the press.
The press.
Where's the press? It was either a paper, the Christchurch press, or it was a wool press.
Brent, been a really good chat today. People want to get more involved, more information. Where do they go?
More information. Just go on the website, www.elephantintheroom.ie. We've got a few interesting interviews coming up like this with celebrities talking about their various issues in their life, their various elephants. There's T-shirts. I think we're getting the squeezy elephant, stress elephants to squeeze. We've got all type of thing. I just want people to join the movement. It is a movement. It's not just a one-off a charity thing. It's more, yes, we're aligned with the Samaritans, and like Aware and Pieter and all these, they do a wonderful job, but it's more about an awareness. So we're an awareness movement that we want people to join of all ages. We want to see our T-shirts out at concerts. We want to see people, getting the little elephant badges and wearing them around, because people get it, They do, of all ages. They all know what the elephant in the room is, and the elephant in the room is talking a bit more about your mental health.
Yeah, brilliant. No, brilliant. Thank you.